The strongest predator in the land had stopped eating. The king of the wild, surrounded by prey, untouched meals, and endless opportunity to show silence. The lion lay beneath a scorched acacia tree, breathing slow, unmoving. Days passed. Herds came and went. No roar, no hunt, nothing. Until the wind shifted. This wasn't illness. No wound bled, no snare trapped him. His eyes stayed sharp. Muscles twitched with power, but still he refused. The pride kept their distance. Even scavengers hesitated. Something deeper had taken hold, something ancient. In the wild, every action has rhythm, and when that rhythm breaks, the jungle listens. This lion wasn't giving up. He was waiting. But what for? Why would a king forsake his meals? Why would the beast that ruled these lands ignore the cries of its cubs? To understand the lion's silence, we must go back. This was no ordinary lion. Locals whispered that he once dragged a hyena away from a wounded cub. They called him the gentle king. Never reckless, never cruel. There were stories of his wisdom. Some believed he saw things before they happened. Others claimed he heard sounds beyond hearing. It all started when the rains failed. One by one, watering holes turned to dust. The herds moved on, desperate, leaving behind those too weak to follow. With each passing day, more stumbled, fell, and died. The gentle king grew thinner, his ribs starked against taut hide, his belly a canvas of worry lines. Then one night, a lone figure slipped out of the pride. The lioness, his mate, hadn't hunted in days. For her, the kill was no joy. For her, prey seemed cursed. Without a word, she slipped into the darkness, leaving behind the bewildered pride, the worried cubs, and the baffled king. Days blurred into weeks. Still, the lioness didn't return. Still, the king barely touched his meals. But he never gave up hope. When the dry season ends and the rains return, hope is reborn. So he waited, watching the sky, marking the moon's slow climb, praying for the winds to change. Then one morning, a lone vulture circled high above. The king watched, his gaze steady, as it landed near an old baobab tree. Moments later, a hyena emerged, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. She approached the dead, picked clean bones, and howled her victory to the silent sky. The king felt a surge of protectiveness. Her cubs were somewhere here. And just like that, the decision was made. Leaving the pride for the first time in his life, the king followed the scavenger's scent. He tracked her for days, driven by loyalty, thirst, and love. Then one evening, he found them, a small clan of hyenas, 3 cubs, and in their midst, his lioness. Relief flooded him, quickly, chased by a surge of anger. His lioness had joined the very thing he despised most. As he watched, one of the cubs stumbled. The hyena snapped at it, urging it forward. The king roared, a sound that echoed his pain, his fury, his fear. But when the lioness heard his call, she didn't turn. She nudged the fallen cub, licking his head, urging him on. The king paused, puzzled. Was this why she'd left? Was this why she chose the enemy? At that moment, the fallen cub collapsed. This wasn't the playful tumble of cubs at play. This was surrender. The hyena snarled at the king, baring her teeth, but didn't charge. The lioness dipped her head, urging the king closer. As he stepped forward, she touched the cub with her nose, then looked back at the king. In that silent exchange, everything changed. This wasn't a rival. This was family. This was his cub. The gentle king understood. Love sometimes means sacrifice. Sometimes it means letting go so that others can save those you hold dear. So the king did the unthinkable. He let the hyena lead him to water, food, and safety, showing him where to find the best hunts, how to avoid danger. Together, they raised 2 cubs, sharing knowledge and skills. The king taught the hyena the ways of the lion. The hyena taught the king the ways of patience. But as seasons turned into years, a shadow loomed. The gentle king grew old. His steps were slower, his eyes dimmer. The hyena knew their time was short. She had to prepare not just for herself, but for the cubs, for the pride, and for the king. She started small, taking the cubs on short hunts, teaching them the thrill of the chase, the respect for life. She showed them how to be patient, to read the signs, to listen to the whispers of the wind. But most importantly, she taught them how to be kind, to show mercy, to remember that even in the harshest of environments, empathy can thrive. The cubs thrived under her guidance, learning not just survival skills, but life skills. The gentle king watched, his heart swelling with pride, knowing that his legacy was in good paws. He might have been aging, but his spirit lived on in his cubs. Yet fate, it seems, had other plans. One evening, a violent storm swept across the plains, unleashing its fury on the unsuspecting land. Lightning cracked, thunder roared, and the relentless rain turned the earth into a swirling mass of mud. The gentle king, weakened by age, struggled to keep his balance. The hyena, sensing his distress, nuzzled him, trying to comfort him. But the storm raged on, and with it, the river rose. It swelled, spilling over its banks, turning the plains into a watery grave. In the struggle to stay upright, the gentle king lost his footing. He cried out, his voice hoarse with fear and pain. The cubs, alerted by his call, rushed to his side, but it was too late. The water was rising fast, threatening to drag him under. Without hesitation, the hyena made her move. Leaping into the churning water, she grabbed the king by the scruff of his neck, pulling him toward the safety of higher ground. Behind her, the cubs followed, their small bodies battling against the current. They reached a clump of trees, their roots gnarled and strong, holding firm against the raging waters. The hyena, with a final surge, pulled the king onto the dry land. Panting heavily, she turned to the cubs, guiding them to safety one by one. As the rain finally began to subside, revealing the devastation around them, the hyena collapsed, her strength spent. The gentle king, shaken but alive, nuzzled her, his eyes filled with gratitude. In that moment, they knew they had faced death together and survived. Their bond, forged in fire and tested in water, was unbreakable. But the gentle king couldn't shake off a nagging thought. Where was his pride? Had they abandoned him? Or worse, had they perished in the flood? The hyena, reading his thoughts, nudged him, urging him to move. It was time to find answers. They walked for what seemed like hours, the remnants of the storm still hanging heavy in the air. When they finally spotted the pride, it was a heartbreaking sight. Their bodies strewn across the ground, lifeless. The gentle king's heart shattered. His family, his pride, his home, all washed away by the merciless floods. The hyena, sensing his despair, pressed against him, offering silent comfort. In that moment of utter loss, the gentle king knew he couldn't give up. He had cubs to raise, a pride to lead, a legacy to uphold. The gentle king took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. He looked at the cubs, their eyes wide with innocence and fear. He dipped his head in a gesture of understanding, promising to be their strength, their shield, their guide. The hyena, her eyes shining with newfound respect, joined him, her loyalty solidified by shared grief and a promise of a new beginning. They returned to the ravaged remains of their home, determined to rebuild, to heal, to hope. For in the face of overwhelming odds, they had found solace in each other, and that, in itself, was a victory worth roaring about. If this story touched your heartstrings, if it made you believe in the power of love, loyalty, and resilience, then please show your support. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales.